Hey everybody, it is Dak here from the Ed Boys, and today's topic is a discussion about making your bank standing time actually worth your time. We are all guilty of bank standing occasionally. There's a lot of things you can do in the game, and if you don't have a specific goal at the moment, or you just got done with a huge grind that takes forever, or you've set a goal that has so many different requirements involved, you just don't know which skill or quest to do next, it's pretty easy to find yourself standing at the bank actually doing nothing. My goal today is to throw down some ideas for you to still get some stuff done during these boring transition periods. Some of you may already be professional bank standers, and you understand just because you're not moving around or really doing much doesn't mean you can't make any progress in your account while you're at it. For you folks, you might find this information to be old news for you, but that's good news. It looks like you've already found a solution for your standing around doing nothing, and I'm very proud of you. I think the easiest way for me to convince somebody out of just standing around getting nothing done is to tell them that you could stand around the bank and at least make a little bit of money instead. For plenty of methods, you do still have plenty of time to just stand around too if they're AFK enough. Some simple examples would include maybe fletching bows or making unfinished potions. These are both very AFK moneymakers, and fletching will actually give you a little bit of XP too, which is going to make some level progress while you're at the bank. The biggest benefit of doing fletching, in my opinion, is the fact that logs and unstrung bows, and even bowstrings really, don't change in price very drastically. This means that you could buy a bunch of maple logs or yew logs and just let them sit in your bank for a while, and just use them whenever you need them, where if you buy some unfinished potion ingredients, those change prices a lot, so it's likely you want to go right to the GE and buy the materials when you do it, use all the materials and sell them back to not risk things dropping in price and you actually losing money. That's not quite as universal in the whole bank standing scheme, but if you don't mind going to the GE all the time, or at least just bank standing at the grain exchange, then you could start using any of your money that isn't doing anything to flip, which is my personal favorite option for bank standing. Flipping doesn't really have a limit on how much money you can make per hour. The more money you have, the higher potential you have to make bank through the grain exchange. Plus, flipping can be super AFK while you wait for things to buy and sell. Sometimes you'll have 5-10 minutes between things, depending on how expensive the item is and how often it's traded, of course, but you can actually multitask on bank standing with this one, so maybe you can start to flip some things, and while you're waiting for stuff to buy and sell, get back to that fletching life, cutting up a few logs. If you're not necessarily looking for AFK specifically, I suggest giving herb cleaning a look. Cleaning herbs over a long period of time is kind of terrible, but bank standing for a long period of time is not a great thing for your account either. So during a short stint at the bank, especially if you're on your way to do something fairly click intensive, you can clean a bunch of herbs, which is going to make a little bit of profit and also warm your clicks up a little bit and get you ready to actually start playing. I do have a video that's based purely on the money-making aspect of bank standing, which I've left a link in the description for, but because of that, I'm going to move on from the money-making side and try not to rant on it any longer. Some skills in the game actually require you to just stand around while you do it. You don't need to move anywhere, and since you need to bank often for skills like crafting or herb lore, or even as mentioned before, fletching, you gotta keep getting logs out of your bank, it makes most sense that you just stand at the bank while you do it. If you ever plan on trying to max, or you have some sort of leveling goal, like maybe 90 herb lore for raids, even 76 herb lore for raids with the team, or 75 crafting for slayer rings, even a cooking goal that you could make wines with to help achieve, then it looks like you're already planning on doing a little bit of bank standing. It's not a bad idea to get some of those supplies purchased, and anytime that you're standing around not quite sure what to do, you could at least get some herb lore XP, or maybe make some battle stabs, or even back to those fletching bows again, and actually get something done. If you're gaining solid XP while you're at the bank, it feels like the exact opposite of bank standing actually, but in fact you're still just standing around at the bank. It is better to get some gains though rather than doing nothing. I also think for a lot of people trying to grind out one skill for hours and hours and hours on end to get to like level 90 plus tends to get kind of boring, so it's a little nicer to spread it out in just small chunks of XP. So if you're trying to train your crafting your herb lore and you just happen to do it only when you're bank standing or between trips at whatever else you're doing, you're going to add up a little bit of XP without actually getting the feel of that grind. You're not going to have to do 10 to 12 hours at a time, maybe 30 minutes at a time before you do something else. Yeah, it's going to take forever to get 99 like that, but it's going to be a little less boring on that grind. Here's a very interesting solution to standing around the bank and getting nothing done that some of you, including myself, might be a little afraid of. Go ahead and make some friends. I mean this one half ironically, since there's two very opposite sides of the coin when talking to strangers in the OSRS community. You might find somebody else who's bank standing with absolutely nothing to do, and they also just want to make some friends. Now, coming from a fucking recluse like myself, it may not be the best at convincing you on all the positives of human interaction through video games, but for real, you might actually learn something from other players, maybe find find a new friend for some group activities like bossing. Everybody's looking for a bossing partner. Or just finding a new talking buddy for some friendly banter. Of course, there's a downside to talking to strangers. There is the side of the OSRS community that does not want to talk with you and your dumb ass, so you don't fucking bother. But how are you supposed to know that before you actually talk to these people? With any social interactions, we always have toxic people around, of course, but honestly, some of the trash banners are the best stuff in the game too, until you meet someone who's trying to scam your ass or something. For the most part, I'm just kidding around in this section. I do think that the game has slowly been leaning on solo gameplay and not just like Iron Man, Ultimate Iron Man and whatnot, but even in general, making money with like bossing tends to be better if you solo, and there's really not a lot of group activities out there anymore. I think there are some huge positives involved when we actually communicate as a community, which is part of the reason I've been doing these discussion videos. The wiki has a lot of information on OSRS, but we tend to all get a little bit better at the game when we actually can discuss OSRS related topics. And even though the platform I'm using is YouTube, not necessarily as much just in-game, when you are in-game, you know that it's just a bunch of people around you that are also playing RuneScape, and maybe they have some helpful information for you too. If you're looking for some in-game chat life, I do have a CC you can join, 85 Dakota 85, that is open to everybody. This is also not a terrible way to communicate with me in-game because I usually keep my private off because, again, I'm a fucking recluse, but I'm usually in my CC. I do have one solution for Bankstanding that, as far as I know, has been 100% effective for every player who's tried it. If you find yourself standing around, getting absolutely nothing done, and there's no sort of progress that sounds enjoyable to you, even getting some basic fletching done is just too much of a bore, then this part of the vid is just for you. On your inventory interface, where you can check your inventory or your stats, equipment, the prayer and spellbook, at the bottom between your settings and your account management tab, you can click on this little door and then the log out button to log the fuck out of the game. I'd say you can go outside, but that's just fucking ridiculous. We don't need to go outside here. Maybe you find another game you like you guys play Monster Hunter World? No? No, what about Sea of Thieves? Are you a Rocket League fan? I bet you guys, you're playing Fortnite, huh? You're a bunch of Fortnite nerds.